This past fall, I decided to be more intentional and unplugged in my life. But one thing that made this a little more complicated than it would be for a lot of other people is that I actually work in digital marketing for my full-time job. So it's not like I can just go and delete all the social media apps off my phone. This means I've had to be very strategic and intentional of where I can cut back and decrease my amount of time spent online in more analog ways that happen mostly outside of the workday. So as I've been trying to unplug and go more analog as a digital marketer, here's what's been working for me. Anytime I pick up my phone, I exponentially increase the chance that I'm gonna end up doom scrolling. So one way I've cut back on how often I'm even just getting on my phone is by decreasing how much I'm listening to music streaming services. When I'm home, I've been really favoring just listening to my vinyl records. I started collecting them right before I finished up with undergrad, and I've just been going with it ever since. So I have all my favorite albums on vinyl and an extremely large collection of almost 300 records, but that's a story and problem for a different day. Not only does this keep me off my phone, but the whole process of listening to a turntable really turns music into a fully immersive experience that it's not when you're just streaming. Plus, it makes you listen to an album from start to finish, which I imagine is how most musicians pictured their album being listened to anyway. The next change I've made has been switching to physical books. I pretty much stopped using my e-reader, which isn't really a loss or waste because it was pretty old and on its way out anyway. And it's just been a really nice way for me to cut back on screen time and really focus on and engage with the material that I'm reading, which right now is East of Eden. And this has also been great as someone who loves writing in my books, and being able to go back and reference past pages is just so much easier with a physical book. Another way I've been cutting back on tech is by journaling instead of picking up my phone whenever possible. If I need to write down a word from a book or something I've looked up, I can just jot it down until I'm by a dictionary, and then I can just look it up there. And that means I also will not end up just mindlessly scrolling through Instagram again. Now when I'm bored, which happens surprisingly rarely, I'm able to write something down or do a little doodle. I can review what I've written in the past and use that as a great opportunity to reflect. It offers so many options besides just giving into the brain rot of your algorithm. This one isn't technically new, but one of the ways that I first started practicing mindfulness was actually with my morning coffee, which I exclusively make as a pour over every morning. And for the last year or two, I really just use this time as 3 or 4 minutes to really be mindful and in the moment. Every morning I weigh out my coffee, I hand grind it, turn the kettle on, warm up my cups, and really just focus on doing the concentric circles in my brew. Just taking the time to be in the moment and just very observant and focused on what I'm doing. Experience the aroma of the coffee when it's freshly ground, while it's brewing, and then after it's finished brewing. And then I always take a few minutes to just sit there, relax, take a few sips, and enjoy it, and get back to work, which funnily enough is marketing in coffee. And finally, what's probably the most helpful, but the least sexy, is this phone app I use. I think it's called ScreenZen. I'll link it down in the description, but it limits the amount of time you can spend on certain apps on your phone. I set times where I'm not allowed to use specific apps at specific times of the day. So I always focus on getting all of the social media work I have to do for my job done in the morning. And then I'm essentially locked out of all of those apps in the afternoon. Something comes up for work, I can always take care of it on my desktop. But it's been very great for being extremely mindful of when I'm using my phone. I also have everything locked up from midnight to 8 a.m. That way I'm not scrolling on my phone when I should be going to bed. And honestly, this has been such a big help, and it's given me back so much of my time. It's also made me realize just how mindlessly I was getting on my phone. I'd click on an app, get the error message that I couldn't open it, and then I would realize I couldn't even remember what I was trying to access. I acknowledge I'm extremely bad at personally enforcing my own screen time limits, so this app has been fantastic. So that's what I'm currently doing with the new year starting. I'm hoping to pick up a few new no-tech, low-tech activities, like walking outside. I want to spend more time writing and drawing and really just indulging in offline activities that spur my creativity. If you've been thinking about cutting back on your tech, this is your sign. Don't overwhelm yourself, but get started with that today. There's no better time than the present. I'll be over here looking for more ways to reduce using tech in my life too. Arnold agrees. Thanks for making it to the end. If you haven't already, hit that subscribe button. Still on the fence about simplifying your digital life? check out this video I made about using Pocket Notebook to replace your doom scrolling. Yamas!